Hello everyone and welcome to another brand new slow and immersive honourmode playthrough of Baldur's Gate 3. We're here with Chris from the Kuru channel. Say hi, Chris.
Hello, everybody.
And this is my new duo partner. Chris reached out to me about like a week I guess ago now, and he was keen on playing BG3 in a sort of a duo. And we put our heads together to get something kind of interesting going, something different from my other playthroughs on my channel. And I think we've got, a very interesting setup, which we'll go over in this video. And just like my previous videos, I guess we'll go over the lore in this. This will be a very detailed character creation video, probably about half an hour, maybe 45 minutes. We'll go over the relevant lore, go over our characters and their backgrounds, and detail kind of, what we're roughly planning to do with our characters and how they work. So stick around if you like to geek out on character creation. But if you don't, we will do a short summary in the beginning of the second episode, which we will post in about an hour. So on the same day that this goes out, we'll do a short summary of kind of the basics. So with that, I guess said, yeah, let's go ahead and get into it.
Let's do it. Do you want to send me an invite?
Yep.
And I will join you.
Yep. So it's a brand new multiplayer game. It will be very different. Oh, sorry. Hang on. I just pressed create and it just loaded up a game. Yeah, there it is. There's a lobby. There's user.
Thank you.
Honor mode, the only way. 2 of us. Again, there will be no companions. And, well, I guess as you would have gathered from the title of this video, we will be playing tieflings. And we'll be doing a sorcerer and a barbarian. I'll be playing the sorcerer. Chris will be playing the barbarian. And we'll be going with wild magic for the sorcerer and wild magic for the barbarian.
Sorry. There we go. I'm in.
Yep. That
Some
is a
technical
little
difficulties,
preview.
but I'm in.
Yeah, no worries. And then, yeah, we'll be going with kind of a more of an evil run. We will be using the tadpole. But we're mostly kind of, self-serving, kind of power-seeking, the typical devil. We'll talk a bit more about the kind of the background of the characters, but very quickly, they will be sort of, they will be what everyone suspects tieflings to be, like, because at some point they just kind of had enough of fitting in with the humans, and they just kind of decided to embrace their tiefling potential and kind of the devil and all of that, and they are kind of deceptive in it for themselves, lawful evil, sort of kind of get enough power, get as much power for yourself as you can. They are very obviously very loyal to each other, but they distrustful of everyone else, other than maybe some tieflings, but generally everyone in the world, they don't trust anyone. They've been burnt way too many times. And after having spent sometimes in the Nine Hells, I guess they get abducted on the Nautiloid, and then we'll take, we'll get the story going there. But for now, I guess you want to ready up, and we just launch into the first cinematic.
Absolutely.
Watch that, guys. Yeah, and then we'll get into character creation and the lore.
Yeah, there's a lot to it in this one. A lot of lore.
Yeah, a lot of very interesting. Again, it's one of those tieflings, one of those races that are obviously, you encounter them straight away, and it seems like they persist throughout Baldur's Gate 3. But when I started reading about it, there's a lot of interesting things, like a lot of things I didn't really quite realize. So yeah, super interesting, super excited. All right, let's go ahead and launch into the cinematic, right?
Yeah, sure. Let's do it.
Sure. Here we go. It'll be a long journey, guys. We're gonna complete the game.
Yeah, fingers crossed.
Gonna happen. This is the perfect synergy.
I think so.
Never gets old.
I know.
I'll say it's good.
Perfect. Perfect in every way.
Yeah.
Just like this playthrough is going to be. Fingers
Pretty-
crossed.
Yep. All right, guys. So, as you again got from the title, we are going to be playing tieflings, both of us. There's obviously different types, but just to kick us off, I guess this is going to be me reading out from the Dungeons and Dragons wiki. Just what are tieflings exactly, right? Because you encounter them in Baldur's Gate 3, as I mentioned straight away. I never knew anything about them, but I'm not a big Dungeons and Dragons, kind of geek. So here it is. Who are tieflings? So the tiefling.
Do you want to, by the way, while you're doing that, I'm just going to quickly put together my character.
Yeah, you put together your character, and then Chris will cover some of the other sections, and I'll put my character together while he's talking. But for now, so the tiefling, just at the very basic, is a race of plain-touched humanoids. Tieflings are primarily human in ancestry, but draw part of their bloodline from a powerful, evil, extraplanar being. The term tiefling was first applied to all humans whose ancestry included any evil extraplanar being of the lower planes, such as a demon, devil, evil deity, or other unknown entity. This usage is common among many planet travelers. More recently, however, the term commonly refers to a specific type of plain-touched humanoid who draw their descent from an infernal being or power of the Nine Hells, most commonly Asmodeus. This includes the descendants of the former empire of Baal Turath, who gained infernal form in a pact with Asmodeus, as well as the various plain-touched of Faerun, who were transformed into infernal tieflings by Asmodeus during Spellplague. So as you can see, they are actually primarily human in nature with some sort of deviations. Now, the way they come about is when a devil sort of seduces a human, they together produce a cambion or a half-fiend. And when a cambion or a half-fiend, or like a succubus, I think, seduces a human again, it is then that they produce something like a tiefling. Two tieflings can have offspring of tieflings, but a tiefling and a human can have a human offspring, and then the bloodline kind of remains, and it can manifest itself later, and that's why humans can sometimes have sort of these I don't know, ugly duckly type kids, later on, and they sort of think it's horrible and maybe like abandon them, and as we'll see. So that's who tieflings are at their very, very core. And again, as this paragraph mentions, there is actually other beings that used to be referred and still can be referred to as tieflings. So this kind of practice of primarily referring to tieflings as the descendants of the devils is kind of more recent. And I guess for BG3, I guess probably the right kind of reference. So let's see like who are they a little bit. So let's say infernal tieflings. In the current era, the name tiefling is most often given to specific peoples whose ancestry is connected to the Nine Hells. In many worlds, these are the most numerous type, to the extent that tiefling has become synonymous with them. The best known of these bear the blood of Asmodeus. These tieflings resemble humans, but with very obvious infernal. Very obvious infernal heritage. Their skin ranges from normal human tones to a hellish red. Their eyes are featureless orbs of solid black, red, white, silver, or gold. They possess horns in a great variety of shapes, some curled like a ram, some spiral like a gazelle, and others ugly flat plates extending sideways from the forehead. They also possess long, thick tails and vampire-like pointed teeth. Their hair is usually dark and sometimes in unnatural colors like red, blue, or purple. So let me just drop just a little bit about more about their society and sort of attitude. So tieflings are widely stereotyped as wicked, cruel, and criminal individuals. While many live up to this image, however, tieflings run the full range of good and evil and vary considerably based on their bloodline and on an individual level. Tieflings have a tendency to be solitary loners. They are adaptable and resilient to hardship and possess strong aptitude at whatever pursuit they dedicate themselves to, whether that be fighting, art, or anything else. Their solitary, driven nature makes tieflings well-suited as adventurers, wanderers, and researchers of magical lore. When facing adversity, the tiefling instinct is not to withdraw from the world, but rather to challenge it head-on. Tieflings seek to make their own fates, defy the odds, and take risks that even most humanoids would not dare. They are fiercely independent. Since planar tieflings are so dissimilar from one another, they rarely feel a sense of kinship with other tieflings. The ritual transformation of all tieflings of Faerun into those of the blood of Asmodeus has done little to improve this situation, in, in part due to the species' rarity and continued social exclusion. No tiefling kingdoms exist. Tieflings are known for their quick temper, stubbornness, self confidence, and fickleness in relationships. They are said to move with a slithering walk. Tieflings learn from a young age they cannot count on others to care for them and develop a strong sense of self reliance. Tiefling hirelings have a reputation to be self determined and disobedient. So you see, so very kind of passionate, individualistic, not necessarily actually evil, right? They actually can be, full range of good and evil. We're going to be going with the kind of evil, but more like, resented, kind of angry at the world, disappointed. Yeah, I guess very much resentful of the world, and therefore pushed into being evil. But maybe, maybe there's a little bit of a glimpse of good in them, especially maybe towards other tieflings, as our characters will sort of try to lead by example and get other, throw off the yoke or like from other tieflings if they are, for example, made vulnerable, or kind of effectively teach them or tell them to, like, well, why don't you go to nine hells, embrace your full potential, and just live your life the way you want to, rather than trying to fit in, for years and years, and then once you slip up and you just fall prey to, stupid human prejudice. Uh, so that's a bit about that. Then I guess there is, hang on. So they have supernatural abilities sometimes. They have kind of rare traits of all kinds. But here, this one is important. Yeah, life cycle. So tieflings are primarily born as the offspring of another tiefling, or as the offspring of a human and a cambion or half-fiend, as I mentioned. Less commonly, a human may be transformed into a tiefling by powerful magic. Many evil extraplanar beings can naturally interbreed with humanoid races, or can do so by magically assuming humanoid form. The offspring of such a creature, usually a succubus or incubus, and a human, is a cambion or a half-fiend. The offspring of one of these powerful half-blooded creatures and a normal human is a tiefling. The offspring of two tieflings will be a tiefling, while the offspring of a tiefling and another humanoid has a half chance of inheriting from either parent. Even so, the tiefling bloodline is still carried and may reassert itself unexpectedly in later generations. Given sufficient number of generations, it is possible for the tiefling's fiendish bloodline to breed out of their descendants entirely. Our major counterexample to this rule are the tieflings descended from the rulers of Baal Turoth, whose assertive bloodline assures that the offspring of one of their kind and a human is always a tiefling. These tieflings become dominant subspecies in Faerun after the Spell's Plague, which transformed other tieflings into those of the bloodline of Asmodeus. Powerful magic and pacts with powerful archdevils can transform a human into a tiefling, or else a more powerful fiendish creature whose offspring will inherit fiendish blood. In the Abyss, corrupting magical effects can cause alteration magic to misfire, corrupting a human into a tiefling. In terms of life expectancy, tieflings mature at the same rate as humans, actually, and tend to live approximately the same number of years, commonly a few years longer. A few tieflings may live as long as 150 years. That's kind of them about kind of individuals and species, and there's a little bit more about their society. So tieflings are uncommon in number, and in most worlds they do not possess kingdoms or societies of their own, living instead scattered throughout human civilizations. Tieflings are distrusted in many human cultures due to their devil-like appearance and poor reputation. This common mistreatment does not cause tieflings to band together as it might among humans, but rather they respond by isolating themselves and becoming loners. Many tieflings are evil, though not all. Mistreatment by the society who raise them ironically leads some tieflings to become cruel and distrustful themselves, while others take society's distrust as a challenge to prove themselves virtuous and good. This is really the path of our characters, maybe at some point in the past, my character's a sorcerer trying to become a wizard, but wasn't accepted, repeatedly, and then just embraced his wild magic sorcerer nature and moved to, or somehow went to nine hells to fight in the blood wars.
Yeah.
And you'll hear Chris like have a sort of a similar story as a barbarian, maybe trying to fit in.
Yeah. I think that's the reason our characters are so tightly bonded, is through their sort of
Yeah,
shared experience of
like shared life experience. So I guess shared
crushed ambition
worldviews.
and
Yeah, exactly. So many tieflings are evil, though not all. So I read that. Tiefling families in the traditional senses are rare. Many tieflings born to human parents who possess a latent infernal bloodline are abandoned at birth and raised by a monastery, church, orphanage, or adoptive parents. Such individuals often reach adulthood before they ever meet another of their kind. In Faerun, the Red Wizards of Thay often kidnap tiefling children to use as slaves or spies, creating adoptive tiefling families of a sort. Some tieflings form merchant families, allowing them to live a life of relative safety and ease thanks to wealth and their ability to travel. Many who grow up in this environment lead a relatively sheltered and comfortable life and are shielded from the prejudice shown to tieflings in society at large. Young tiefling wanderers often seek out famous tieflings as mentors. Such mentors often form short-lived cults of personality called schools, which inevitably collapse when the founder dies. They variously operate as things like thieves' guilds, mage societies, and the like. Tieflings have an instinctive dislike of Aasimar. They have slightly better relations with half-orcs, who are likewise often misfits in society. Asking a tiefling about their ancestry is considered a faux pas. And that's kind of it for me on the basics. You can obviously, guys, read more on the Dungeons and Dragons lore wiki. This was just kind of a few paragraphs from there. But you can see, I think they suited really well to this sort of backstory of duo characters. You know, like a really, it's like a real strong bond between no more than two people, two tieflings, maybe three. You know, if you ever wanted to do a trio run yourselves. But yeah, very individualistic, very, I guess, self-reliant, very passionate about like whatever it is that they believe in. So yeah, I think thematically fits our honor mode kind of duo run really, really well. Now, I guess, Chris, yeah, do you want to talk about the nine hells, I guess, right? And kind of just a little bit, yeah, a little bit about the nine hells and where we've been in the last, I guess, few, I don't know, decades of our lives or whatever it is. Yeah, I guess a bit of lore on that. Chris?
Oh, apologies, I was muted. I'm back.
No worries.
Okay. Yes. Yeah. So, I'd like to talk a little bit about the three different sub-races of Tiefling, kind of the overarching lore behind, the actual different variations of Tiefling, because I know you talked about the Tieflings in general, right?
Yep.
So I have a passage that I'm going to read through that's quite short, which goes through kind of the nine layers of the Hells in Baldur's Gate 3, and then also kind of the different archdevil leaders of each layer of the Hells, or the ones that will apply to us in our run. So there are 9 layers of the Hell in Baldur's Gate 3. The most commonly mentioned one is Avernus, a surface layer of Hell where the majority of the Blood War took place. The Blood War was an ancient conflict that took place between the demons, who are chaotic, evil creatures from the abyss, and devils, who are lawful, evil humanoid creatures, whom tieflings are, originated from, like Immersioneer said. Each layer of the 9 hells has a unique biome and a powerful ruler. The deepest layer, called Nessus, is ruled by the archdevil Asmodeus, which is the same one that you mentioned earlier. And he is the ruler of all 9 of the layers of the hells. And his bloodline of tieflings, the red ones, the red, main tieflings that you see, are the most common. And this is because of a powerful ritual, which I think you mentioned, to turn all tieflings into Asmodeus tieflings. And the ritual was unfortunately unsuccessful. And so some sub-races of tieflings still exist and kind of repopulated in the meantime. But other than that, there is the 8th layer of the Hells, which will be important to our story, which is ruled by Mephistopheles. So Immersioneer will be playing as a Mephistopheles tiefling. And so his sub-race of tiefling is originated from Mephistopheles. So Mephistopheles was the ruler of the 8th layer of the Hells, and he was a powerful archdevil that specialized in arcane magic and infernal rituals. For those of you that have played the game, he's the father of Raphael, who is a cunning and manipulative Cambion, heir to the throne, Mephistopheles' bloodline of tieflings are generally blue and inherit his arcane magic. And then I guess the final subrace of tiefling that will be relevant to us, that we're not going to be playing, or excuse me, that I will be playing, Zariel tieflings. Where was I? Yeah, they come from the first level of the Hells called Avernus. For those of you that have played Karlach's story or Karlach's quest in the game, you'll know Avernus. It's quite a popular one. And so they come from Avernus, and Avernus is ruled by Zariel, who was a powerful ruler of Avernus, the first layer. Originally a powerful angel, Zariel was turned into an archdevil ruler by Asmodeus after an unsuccessful invasion of Avernus. So I guess she was, during the Blood War, she was an angel that came to intervene and tried to invade the Hells and was unsuccessful, and so was turned into a ruler of the first layer of the Hells, which is not what you want, but that's what happened to her. And so now she rules the first layer. So her bloodline of tieflings inherit her martial kind of power, her strength with fighting and weapons and whatnot. And so that's kind of the three sub races in Baldur's Gate. Obviously, there are more layers and more sub races, but those are the ones that will be important to us.
And if you imagine them, I guess on the wiki, guys, if you imagine the 9 layers are a bit like a funnel or like an ice cream cone, if you imagine, with the first layer being kind of, well, it looks on the picture at least like the biggest, but it's like the top layer, whereas the 9 health is like the tip of the cone, of an ice cream cone, at the very bottom. So the 9th layer is like at the bottom, it's the roughest. 8th layer, the Mephistopheles, where Mephistopheles rules the land of Cania. We'll talk about it in more detail. That's 8th level, and Zariel is the very first level, so the very top of the ice cream cone, so to speak. And those are the 9 layers of hell. So you do go down, and it does kind of, I guess, become progressively, I don't know, more desolate and worse and whatever, and sort of harsh.
More hellish, I would imagine.
More hellish, yeah. So 9 layers of hell, yeah.
I should also mention they all have different kind of biomes and different environments and things.
Yeah.
So I think the 8th layer, the Mephistopheles layer, is kind of like an icy, like harsh wasteland, and then kind of the deepest layer is kind of hellfire and damnation, and then the first layer, the top layer, is kind of is what you see actually when you look outside of the Nautiloid at the start of the game. It's kind of like the big open barren battlefield.
That's like the good part.
That's the good part. Yeah,
it's like the vacation spot.
Yeah,
in 9 Hells, the easy mode. Yeah. Well, yeah, I think that covers, right. So the 9 Hells are roughly, a lot of reference that tieflings don't necessarily live there, guys. Right? I mean, 9 Hells are actually inhabited by devils, and I guess that constantly combating with demons, right? Do you want to maybe just talk a little bit about, because we spent a while researching what is a devil exactly and what is a demon? Do you want to maybe talk a bit about that?
Yeah, so there's a big distinction between devils and demons, because in most other works of fiction you see they're usually kind of the same thing, but in Baldur's Gate they're very different. So devils are kind of the humanoid creatures that inhabit the Hells and that live there. That's their place, and they're kind of lawful evil, so they're evil, but they have kind of a hierarchy and a set of rules to live by. Whereas the demons are from a completely different place. They're from somewhere called the Abyss, and the Abyss is kind of like the 9 Hells. It has layers, but there's no kind of determined amount of layers. It's just kind of a mosh pit of sort of monstrosities and creatures, and there's no real order to it. They invade the 9 Hells to fight the devils, to, I guess, take over the 9 Hells for themselves. And then that's how the Blood War started, which was kind of
chaotic evil, right? So they're just out there sort of for destruction, and there are all sorts of monsters, like, I don't know, like hellhounds, I guess, like all sorts of these hellish monsters that you can imagine. So the devils don't actually kind of ally with demons. They are very much at odds. They hate each other, basically. Devils hate the fact that demons come to the 9 Hells. They do try to fend them off, and they do generally try to establish that lawful evil kind of hierarchical, almost like in the real world, on Earth, I'd say it's more like something akin to a police state. So there's a lot of hierarchy, and like the dictator at the top is sort of, he thinks it's completely fine. Like, he takes what's his, keeps power through this like deception, strength, intimidation, and everyone sort of accepts that. And if you're lower down the ladder, right, you kind of think, well, I wish I were there at the top, and you spend your life not trying to demolish that system, but just climb the ranks because you think once you get to the top, you could be the dictator.
Yeah,
Um,
I imagine it as kind of like an honor among thieves style of
Sort
living,
of,
where
yeah,
it's kind of you're doing
and sort
bad
of,
things, but there's still kind of an order to everything that has to be done and stuff
yeah,
like that.
yeah. And we were, I guess, yeah, I mean, tieflings, because of those bloodlines, I guess they do kind of descend into nine hells and they do kind of live there or participate in these battles and whatnot. Maybe they're probably like the most likely recruits for the devils for the blood war. But they don't necessarily are born there or anything like that. They're actually humanoid, as we mentioned at the start. Um, but descendant from the devils. Um, yeah, so I guess that's the nine hells. I guess what do we do next? Should we jump into like our characters?
Yeah,
And
sure. Yeah. Have you made
yeah,
your character? Would you like me to
yeah, I've
start
made
with
my
mine?
character. Yeah, yeah. So I guess, well, should I run down? Okay, so where tieflings actually get a little bit of lore, whatever crumbs of lore we have in BG3. So they say tieflings descended from devils of the nine hells. Tieflings face constant suspicion in Faerun. Thankfully, their arcane abilities make them natural survivors. So as you can see, we got 9 meters of movement, both of us. Dark vision, 12 meters, right? Because we're both just tieflings. And we have hellish resistance. So you have resistance to fire damage, taking only half damage from it. That will be true for both of us. In terms of my subrace here, so I have Mephistopheles Tiefling, descended from the archdevil Mephistopheles. These Tieflings are gifted with a particular affinity for arcane magic, and I get a Mage Hand cantrip. Now, Mephistopheles himself, just very quickly, so he's sometimes shortened to Mephisto, and once under the name of Molycroth, was the Lord of Cania and most powerful archdevil next to Asmodeus himself. Right, so he's sort of number 2. Hell's greatest wizard was a walking contradiction. On the surface, the cool and calculating Cold Lord, and beneath that, the grandiose and hot-headed Lord of Fire. Mephistopheles played up his infernal image as much as possible, intentionally appearing as the classic archetype of a diabolical devil. He was 3 meters tall and striking, his handsome visage and charming yet unnerving smile of self-superiority contrasted by his more monstrous features. His fiendish claws, bright crimson-red skin, large bat-like wings, and impressive curling ram horns all left his hellish heritage on proud display. Another source of contrast was his dead white eyes against his long, straight black hair, as well as his dramatic flowing cape, as dark as the deepest void. Um, so I just wanted to read one more thing. Yeah, when Mephistopheles was donning his Molycroth persona, he appeared as an obese man whose gross levels of fatness were frankly absurd. Yeah, that's not really relevant here. Mephistopheles was a being of razor-sharp instinct, careful suspicion, and prodigious brilliance, a cunning genius, with an unparalleled understanding of hell's political dangers and a great capacity for patient deception. Foremost wizard of Bator, his ordinary speech was like a whispering wind, and his cool, pleasant demeanor gave him the outward appearance of a princely gentleman. He came off as a sophisticated and charming when he spoke, an intellectual force of understated wit, reason, and self-restraint, and embodied the casually crafty aspect of hell's evil. So his Raphael is Mephistopheles' son, so we're very curious to pursue that storyline, right? So you can see Mephistopheles, and I think the way Raphael is portrayed in the game, I think Mephistopheles is something very, very similar, right? So he's actually a devil inside. He is hot-headed. He can be very, I guess, aggressive, and you could say aggressive, passionate, and kind of ruthless. But on the surface, at least at first, he's very kind of cold, but also very charming, calculating, sort of like deceptive, that seductive type devil. And that's what my character will be descended from. Hence, like the magic. Hence, he's a sorcerer, obviously. So the sorcerers are natural spellcasters, drawing on inherent magic from a gift or bloodline. Again, follows with that, sort of tiefling heritage. I guess in terms of, shall I talk about what I pick for my class, or do you want to talk about? I guess let's maybe talk about Zariel tieflings, right? And
Yeah, yeah. I'll just do a quick
yeah,
summary, and then we'll get into stats and whatnot.
yep,
So yeah, so you're playing a Mephistopheles tiefling, kind of
yep,
specialize in arcane magic and whatnot. I'm playing as a Zariel tiefling, which is more specialized in martial fighting and just being a warrior, I suppose. And so I want to read actually a little bit about Zariel. So Zariel, I told the Archduchess of Avernus and the Lord of the First, was the archdevil ruler of Avernus, who was dedicated to winning the unending blood war between devils and demons. She was originally an angel of the seven heavens before transforming into an archdevil and falling to the nine hells. Zariel's original form was that of a beautiful solar with flawless skin, gold feathered wings, and a blindfold covering her eyes. After her descent, she took on a more diabolical appearance. A halo of fire burned atop her head. Her once fine skin was scorched, and her angelic wings, ruined by flame, turned leathery. Her blindfold was abandoned, fully revealing eyes that glowed with white hot rage, and she had lost one of her hands and replaced it with a flail. Zariel was a warmonger obsessed with battle, someone who lived to fight and judged others on their combat skills and willingness to use them. She prized zealous fury as much as discipline and training, and led her troops into battle herself with iron resolve, leaving many a structure in ruin as she carved her warpath. However, neither her own battle prowess nor that of her forces could disguise the fact that Zariel was reckless and rash, relying on her troops' berserker rage and her own determination to win her fights. So I guess that's quite thematic with kind of the character that I've created, who is like a barbarian, one of Zariel's warriors, I suppose. He fought in the Blood Wars. And his name's Cain, and he's kind of inherited the martial powers from her bloodline. And he's a barbarian I've chosen to go with. The wild magic subclass I'll go with when we unlock it. And yeah, he's got a very similar story to Immersioneer's character in terms of, wasn't really accepted in the overworld, and his ambitions were kind of crushed just kind of for being a tiefling, and so he decided that, he would actually voluntarily fight in the Blood Wars to, I guess, fit in somewhere and have like a purpose, right? And that's where our characters both met and decided that we could be powerful and we could be, more than what we were. So, you want to...
Yeah. No, that's exactly right. I guess your background is a soldier, right? So I guess you probably tried to be some sort of soldier in the past, and then you were rejected, and so you kind of drifted and embraced your soldier nature in the Blood War in Zariel's army.
Yeah, right? I like to think Cain was maybe too reckless and too scrappy and too sort of wild for
too wild
to be a soldier.
For humans, yeah,
like
so a disciplined soldier him. Yeah, hence the barbarian. I love it. I think that fits really well as well. But yeah, and my character has the background of a charlatan, so you're an expert in manipulation, prone to exaggeration, and more than happy to profit from it. Bending the truth and turning allies against each other will lead to greater success down the road. Yeah, so very much, deceptive, kind of Mephistopheles, smooth-talking type character. Now, I am obviously a wild magic sorcerer as well, so there is that passionate side to him. Like maybe when he doesn't get his way with deception, he gets frustrated and just like rages and throws a double fireball in your face. If you didn't get the message. And so, I guess maybe let's talk. I guess we only have a little bit left, right? So talk about our classes. Shall I talk about mine first?
Do you want me to go first? Because it's quite.
Or maybe
like,
you go
simple.
First. Yeah, because go ahead.
Yeah, so I'm playing as barbarian. So from just from like the get go, barbarian is quite simple. In terms of background, I went with soldier. And then for abilities as barbarian, obviously, if you haven't played barbarian before, just a quick summary. You get kind of the access to lots of different melee weapons or like melee attacks, and the main thing, which is a bonus action, which is lets you rage, which is you kind of go into like a blind rage, which halves all physical incoming damage that you receive, and also makes you deal an extra 2 damage with all your weapon attacks. So that's kind of like the main center of a barbarian's kit.
Yeah.
And with the subclass that I'll be choosing, the wild magic subclass, it will allow me to expel a random magical effect every single time that I decide to rage. And we don't know what the effects are for the most part. We haven't looked at any of them. So it could be good, it could be bad. But that's the plan when when I get access to that. For now, in terms of stats, just very quickly, I've gone with 17 strength. I thought I'd push that all the way up to the limit, because there will be ways to get that up even further in the future as well. And obviously, I'm a barbarian and I want to do lots of damage and whatnot. Dexterity at 10, because I feel like, you know, I'm playing as a larger character, so I feel like I can afford to lose some dexterity, and put it kind of into other stats and whatnot. And there will be other ways to remedy this as well in the in the run. There'll be things like ways we can fix that. And then Constitution, I went with 16, obviously, because I need lots of health, lots of hit points, because I'll be taking damage a lot. And then also some resistance to poison is nice as well, and things like that. And then Intelligence and Charisma, I went with 8, because, well, number one, I don't really need those stats as much, and number two, it's kind of thematic to have a barbarian that's sort of not very intelligent and not very charismatic. I think that kind of fits. But I
Yeah,
did
no.
put extra points into wisdom. I put my wisdom score up to 14, and I think that also fits because, he's a warrior. He's been in a lot of battles and he's learned from them. So he's probably quite wise in that degree.
Yeah, kind of like street smart, or sort of like, yeah, crafty, right? Like, it's not really street smart, but like battle hardened, I'd say,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Keen
He's seen it
senses,
all.
right? Yeah, exactly. It's got this like the sixth sense, can't you can't teach it. You can only learn it from experience.
Yeah, and,
Yeah, I
and
think
he's
that's
got the
perfect. Yeah,
experience.
yeah. And with the like wild barbarian, yeah, obviously he just doesn't have the aptitude to sit down and learn. No, not that he ever really need to, right? And charisma-wise, again, that sort of passionate, wild nature of a tiefling, I think that also follows it really well.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
I think just very quickly as well, skill proficiency is not too important really, but I went with perception and survival because he's a fighter. He's very perceptive and he's had to survive in the nine L's, I suppose. So
yeah.
that's everything for my character. If you'd like to
What
talk
other
about,
proficiencies do you have?
so I do have, so I have a +5 in athletics,
Okay, yeah.
which is nice. I have. Do you mean
Well,
proficiencies that I
what
have
are
for
the
like
four? What are
base?
the four proficiencies you have? Because you get two from barbarian. What do you get? Athletics,
And intimidation.
intimidation. You get from soldier, right? Soldier gives you intimidation and what?
Gives you intimidation and
And athletics.
athletics. Yeah.
Yeah,
And then I think the
and
two barbarian ones are survival and animal handling, I think.
yeah, yeah. And for those who don't know, another thing about barbarians, so they can't. Well, they actually can wear up to medium armor, but if they wear armor, they can't rage. And also, the way they get AC then, if they only wear sort of like light cloth barbarian cloth, effectively, it's not really armor, then they get AC from dexterity and constitution combined. So right now, right, Kane and Chris's character will have +3, so he'll have 13 AC. So if we, within remedy dexterity at some point, he'll have extra IC and whatnot. And I guess, yeah, he's also doesn't have a lot of initiative. He's kind of a bulky, as you can see, like well, you can't see it on my screen, but he'll be like a size 4, body type 4 character. So again, very, very thematic, kind of fits with that. Yeah, he's just gonna tank it, run in maybe last in initiative order, but when he hits, he hits. Um, yeah, awesome. Then
Yeah.
I guess for
And
me, then,
yeah, do you want to
okay,
go ahead and
yeah. So we talked about Mephistopheles Tiefling class sorcerer, right? So again, someone who draws on that natural ability. So for my cantrips, I get to pick 4. I've picked Firebolt. I think that's very thematic for a Tiefling from 9 Hells, right? Hence that fire resistance. And I'll have more fire spells. And in general, when we get onto spells, I will be going with fire spells and maybe a little bit of ice because Mephistopheles, I actually forgot to mention, so he's a Lord of Cania, again, 8th layer of hell, and it's very cold there, so it's kind of like it's a very frozen type hell, just before you get to the 9th layer. So we do, Mephistopheles tieflings do have that, that blue skin, that's where that all comes from. But mostly I'll be relying on fire with a sprinkle of cold, hence also the second cantrip here of Ray of Frost, right? So I get that hot and cold damage. Mostly we'll be going with fire again. Then at the third cantrip, I'm going to take Bone Chill, just because I don't think anything else really fits us at all. But Bone Chill, a bit of necrotic kind of damage from like a sorcerer, evil, devil type character, I think is fine. And last, I'll have that minor illusion because again for that deception, Mephistopheles kind of playing tricks on you. I think also fits him really, really well. In terms of the spells, so I get to get 2 spells. Sorcerers generally, I'm not going to get a wide choice of spells, but those spells that I do have are always learned, so I don't need to fiddle around with that. And I will also get, as you will see, this sorcerer ability. We'll get these sorcery points where we'll be able to augment our spells and maybe cast 2 of them at the same time, maybe cast one with a bonus action, maybe give disadvantage to enemies on the saving throw, etc. So many ways to like manipulate it. And again, I feel like that really fits that Mephistopheles sort of like not playing by the rules type theme. Loving it. So I'm gonna pick for my starting spells Magic Missile because I feel like that's basic for all casters and sorcerers even. I'm not gonna pick Burning Hands. That would be kind of one you could pick, as I just talked about, that affinity to fire. But I'm actually gonna get that as a Mephistopheles Tiefling as a racial ability, I think at level 3. So I'll leave that out. Otherwise, there isn't really much here. Chromatic Orb is a really good one. I think I'll pick that at level 2. But, Magic Missile is good force damage, guaranteed. Right, always useful. Really good spell. And then for my second spell, now arguably you should pick Mage Armor. Like a lot of people do that. But I thought, first of all, to spice things up, I'll pick Shield, just so I can have that sort of more as a reaction, so that I can really lean more towards damage, and I always have that spell slot. When I have one spell slot remaining, I'll always have that choice, like, oh, do I just go all in, and just do more damage, or do I save it for the shield? Whereas if you get Mage Armor, it's more consistent. Obviously, it's better, but you automatically at the start of your day already spend one level 1 spell slot. And the second kind of idea is that I think you actually find quite a lot of scrolls for Magic Armor.
Yeah.
So I feel like at the beginning of the game when it matters, I'm just going to use scrolls hopefully, and generally I'll try to stay behind. I feel like there's also a way to avoid this, or be tactful about it. Tactical is to let Kane run in there, soak up all the damage, and I'm just hoping that I will tank primarily by staying back and not getting hit.
Yeah, I think positioning is going to be a big thing for you.
Big one for us, yeah. So there you go. That's what we're opening up with: a Magic Missile and Shield. Obviously, Wild Magic as a subclass. So your powers come from ancient forces of chaos. Again, fits very well, I think, with the Tiefling. It's just perfect fit. They churn within you, waiting to burst free at any time. Again, that sort of passionate nature of Tieflings, and especially like Mephistopheles, like cold, deceptive on the surface, but when when they're angry, they're angry. And what that gives me is it gives me Tides of Chaos, which I can activate once per short rest. You activate to gain advantage on your next attack roll, ability check, or saving throw. Right. So I basically re-roll my attack roll. If I'm certain to miss, it will pop up as a reaction, and I can re-roll my attack roll. Doesn't mean I will hit, but I do get to re-roll. During dialogue, I'll be able to roll, obviously, with an advantage, so roll 2 dice if I choose. Only once, right? So it doesn't persist throughout the dialogue. It's only on that one particular roll. And if someone hits me with something like, hold person, and it does land, and I have Tides of Chaos, I could re-roll my saving throw. Now you'll see here it says increased chance of wild magic surge afterwards. So for me, every time I cast a spell of any level, I get 5% chance for a magic surge to occur, which will give me an effect. What I do know is there's about 20 of them, maybe. I think there are some positive, some negative, some kind of ambiguous. We don't know what I don't know what they are. Chris doesn't know. He doesn't know. The barbarian is sort of, I think, a similar vibe, but I think it's maybe a smaller set of effects.
Yeah, we don't know if it's the same shared set of effects or if it's different.
Exactly. If it's like a subset of mine or not. So we purposefully didn't look at the what the effects are. So we're just gonna have to discover them one by one, and that'll be super fun. But for me, like I said, it's 5% chance normally, but after I use Tides of Chaos, it will be applied as a condition to the character. And when I cast the spell while having Tides of Chaos, I'll have a 50% chance or 45% chance. I'm like 45 or 50% chance to trigger wild magic, right? And you can see here, well, yeah, I guess, yeah, you can see what it does.
It
Yeah,
will probably
and
be slightly easier to explain in combat or in
yeah,
gameplay.
exactly. Yeah, it's more like you have to see it to really get it. Yeah, and wild magic is basically my ability. Yeah, and that's it. So to round off my character for ability points, I have 10 strength, just because it's kind of standard. Dexterity of 14, just to get a little bit of that initiative, a little bit of AC, because I do need to act sooner. Rather, well, yeah, it would be actually greatly beneficial for me to act first, because I will hurl, big damage, or maybe somehow interfere with enemies and whatnot. Constitution is 12 for me. I do get a proficiency in it, so I'm good at maintaining concentration. That's for sorcerers. But I'm only going to get 12, so it's going to be 7 HP to start with. So even if I get it up, it doesn't. Yeah, I don't get that much HP out of it anyway. So yeah, I keep it at 12. Just a little bit of extra tankiness, but not too much. Intelligence of 10, because again, I don't rely on studying. Maybe I wanted to at some point in the past, but I was never admitted to any higher institutions of learning for becoming a wizard. Um, Wisdom, I have a 12. Again, just a little bit more of those senses. I am a fighter. We've been to 9 hells. I guess together we've fought in the wars. My character, you would have seen when I was creating the character, I turned up maturity to 100. So he's quite a bit older. He's got that scar that's from experimenting with that wild magic type thing. And has that wisdom. He's got experience. Charisma obviously turned up to 17. That's, again, that sort of that power that he starts with in terms of spells, that sort of charisma for deception, intimidation, performance. He's very much that type of tiefling that can be very a smooth talker when he needs to, but can also just like concentrate that force of character and cast some big boy spells, and do some real damage. And for my proficiencies, I have sleight of hand and deception from being a charlatan, and arcana from being a sorcerer, and insight I picked myself. That's read people and situations, detect lies. Again, goes very well, I think, with that Mephistopheles sort of background or sub race. And yeah, with that, I think we're done. I mean, we're obviously hoping to do this in 30 minutes, but we're running on, I think, about 50 minutes right now.
Yeah, there's a lot of lore to cover, guys, when it comes to tieflings and
Yeah, and I get really excited. I have to say, guys, I love it.
yeah,
I love it.
yeah, it's great. I'd never
Yeah,
up until our playthrough, I'd never played a tiefling. I didn't know there was so much
same,
behind them.
never. And just a bit like with my Gith playthrough, I kind of hated the tieflings. I thought like, man, what are they? Like, it doesn't make any sense. But now that you read the lore, it's like super cool, super exciting. And I think again, I'm obviously biased, but I feel like the classes we picked and the subclasses fit them perfectly. If I do say so myself, like I'm really excited about this run.
Yeah, the synergy should be great, I think.
Yeah, the synergy should be great. It's actually viable, in terms of the game, but also like thematically, that deception, that sort of hunger for power, that resentment to the rest of the world. Awesome. I think like we're really looking forward to this playthrough, guys.
Yeah, we're going to take it all the way.
Yep.
All the way.
All right. So shall we proceed? Right.
Yep.
Name our characters. Right.
Yep.
So my name will be Aphelios, my character's name.
Yep. And mine will be Cain.
Aphelios.
We'll have Aphelios and Cain.
Yeah, Aphelios and Cain.
I guess we have to do our guardian very quickly, don't we?
Yeah, so let's go proceed and just do our guardian super quick. Oh, wait, hang on. One thing I forgot is to change my voice.
Oh, yeah. True. Oh, no, mine's the same.
Yep.
Yeah, I'll just make something quickly, I think.
Yeah, I think I got mine figured out. Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah, I mean, you have like a lot of things to think about, spells and stats, and
Yeah.
I think for me, this run will be more about gear for me than it will stats, and I think for you it'll be more about spells.
Yeah. But it's
usages.
subtle, but it is, because with your racial abilities, you will get smites, but you can't use smites are technically spells, so you'll have to like choose between rage and spells.
Yeah.
Again,
Oh yeah. Yeah.
like
Yeah.
it will be good. It will be good. I think barbarian is deceptively simple, but you know you gotta kind of really balance that. You have to go in there, dish out damage and tank, but you don't want to be too rash. Like yeah. But yeah,
Yeah.
we're
That's
really
the other
looking
thing
forward
as
to
well.
discovering synergies between us, and you know, all of it, guys. What I'm really loving is that, you know, it's going to be some really random effects. I think there's going to be some really funny moments. It's going to be big saves. It's going to be big flops.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
but yeah, I'm ready. Anyway,
I'm ready too. I like as well that not many people play wild magic
yeah,
because
yeah,
like you don't
kind
see
of,
it anywhere.
yeah, similar to my I guess run with Arcane Trickster with my Rogue run on my channel. But you know, another reason I really like this theme is that everyone seems to be kind of you know talking down both magic, my wild magic sorcerer and wild magic barbarian. So I hope you guys are you know going to enjoy watching this, exploring this. I think it's actually really strong. You know, but to be honest, I haven't played any other barbarians or any other sorcerers. Although I actually played the storm sorcerer, so yeah, that's pretty OP. But I do think we're gonna have a lot of fun, and that, to be honest, is more important than anything.
Of
And I
course.
think
Of
it's very
course.
much viable. Like it's not underpowered. Like
Because yeah, we have what each other needs. You know, we have the muscle
yeah,
and the
yeah,
magic.
it's gonna be some big plays in this one.
Absolutely. So do you want to? Are you ready? Do you want to venture forth?
Yeah, yeah. Shall we venture forth? Watch that second cinematic, guys, and then we'll see you in episode 2,
All right.
where we actually do a short summary and get on with the actual game.
Yes, sir. All right. I'm gonna press
All
venture
right,
forth.
all right. Let's go, guys. First step of a 1,000-mile journey. Here we go. I just thought, is this Kenya?
You know what? It
Are
might
we
well
already
be.
in the hells? I just thought of that.
Yeah. It may
So
well
he's
be.
he's teleported to you know the 8th level of hell, and then he's trying to get out of the 9 layers of hell, and he's going up in levels. You know what I mean?
I think you're right. I think you're right.
Literally just popped
Man,
into
you
my
think
head.
you know everything about this game, but
I know.
you don't. Like,
But this must be Kenya.
yeah.
It looks very much like it.
Yeah, yeah.
This is where I got kidnapped, probably. Or abducted, rather.
Yeah, and then it goes
No,
through
I guess we
Avernus, doesn't
probably
it?
were both in first level of hell fighting the Blood Wars.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Home, sweet home.
It's just it looks so cool, man. Cinematics look amazing.
Yeah. Oh, I think I see Kane down there. All right, guys. Yeah, well, we'll finish this episode here and we'll continue in the next one. And we're hoping to post episodes every day in the first week that we start posting this, just so we can get out of the Nautiloid and get through the map quickly.
Yeah. Clear
So
some
like
of the early
first,
stuff.
Yeah, some of the early stuff, and then we get into the story proper. But I hope you enjoyed this character creation video and are as excited as we are about this playthrough. All right.
Here we are.
Well, yeah.
My head.
Yeah, anyway, we'll do a quick summary.
It's falling apart.
We'll do a quick summary at the beginning of the next episode, but that's it for now, guys. Thanks very much for joining us. Give it a like to spread the message, spread the first series. And yeah, really excited about this.
Yeah, I should also point out very quickly, if you want to watch a summarized version of these episodes, you can head over to my channel where I'll sort of make still long videos, but a little bit shorter. So if you don't have time to watch the full video on Immersioneer's channel, you can come over and watch those.
Exactly. Yep, exactly. That's something else we're kind of trying to iterate on the concept, right? And we're doing two different styles of videos. My editing skills are non-existent, so I continue with the old style. But yeah, I think a lot of people will actually prefer that. So the link to the channel will be in the description to the video, to Chris's channel. So go ahead, check that out if you ever need to catch up on an episode quickly.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
All right. Thanks very much, everyone. Glad to have you all on board. Really excited about this. Completely different armor, completely different skills. I don't know nothing about sorcerer armor, staves, like quarter staffs, all of that.
Yeah, it's going to be a real journey of learning for both of us.
Gonna be wild.
Yeah.
Wild.
Oh yeah.
Wild magic. All right. See you all in the next episode, guys.
Thank you. See you later, guys.
Bye for now.